Hey everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Game Addicts podcast, exclusively right here on the Journey to Comics YouTube channel. I'm your host Brando, here with the incomparable Mike Norris. How's it going, Mike?
Pretty good. How you doing?
It's going pretty good. It's been a good day. It's been a bit of a long day. We just got done with work, but now we're here recording the first episode of the Game Addicts podcast. Essentially, guys, this is the second spinoff going up on our channel now. Of course, we had Journey into Wrestling. We covered everything WrestleMania. Go check that out if that interests you. And this is all about gaming. All about gaming. It's modern stuff, retro stuff, all the stuff that we're into, some collecting stuff, that kind of stuff. So essentially, what we decided to do is just sit back, relax, and talk about some news that's going on, stuff that we pretty much talk about anyways, but I've been withholding stuff from you.
Right.
And not having actual conversation with you about this stuff for the last little while.
Well, we haven't worked together for a while, so.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. But there's actually been one thing that, I could have talked about last week, but I didn't. Uh-oh. And it's something that I just remembered I forgot to add, but I put on the list, actually. So I actually need to find that really quick. I don't need to find it because I can just riff off the top of my head. But basically, we're going to go right into some news flashes off the top of the show. We're going to go right in the news. We're not going to waste any time. Basically, news flash segment's going to be anything I find deemed newsworthy,
right? Whether
it's modern, retro, anything about gaming that just sort of comes through. It's not going to be everything because obviously it's too much.
Yeah.
But I'm going to nitpick some stuff and kind of go through it. But essentially, oh my goodness. Thanks, hon. I told my wife we started recording, and she sent me a picture of my baby son's sort of diaper after he has destroyed it. Anyway, that just threw me all off. I'm trying to be a good host. I'm trying to be someone who's going to keep the show going no matter what. And then I cannot get derailed from that. Anyway, back at it. PS4K, aka PS4.5.
Yeah.
It's coming out this year. They're going to announce it probably sometime before PSVR comes out in October. It has been announced now that Phil Spencer said they're not doing Xbox 1.5.
Really?
It is not happening. So Sony's alone in this. I'm torn, okay? I don't want them to do it because I don't want them to segment the audience. Now, the one thing that we started talking about this last week and I stopped because from what the source says about what this is going to be, because Sony really hasn't said too much. I don't think they want to say too much yet.
Okay.
Other than they've put it out there saying, we're going to be doing this. We're probably going to talk about it more in depth when we're ready. Because honestly, I don't think they've actually made any hard decisions about what's going to be in this thing. But from the source that said is that they haven't really decided on a GPU yet. And they're targeting a $400 price point. And that it's going to have shared games. There's not going to be exclusive games for it.
Right.
It's just games are going to run better on it.
Right, and they'll be 4K capable if the developers want to make a 4K game.
If they definitely want to do it, then they can do it. It'll run better. It'll be faster, better frame rate. But you'll be able to play it on your older PS4 if you already have it. Which that's the one thing that really hinged on this because we've seen upgrades in hardware over time. Nintendo's pretty bad about this, or good about it, depending on how you feel. Like the DSi or the 3DS, the new 3DS.
Yeah, which has two exclusives.
Two exclusives, but to see the DSi had 6.
Right.
Where it was DSi exclusive and utilized something with the camera or something like I don't remember exactly what they were utilizing, but that's what I was afraid of. That eventually we're going to get these titles that are exclusive to the PS4K. And you can't get them on the other one, and they have almost 40 million consoles of the original, SKU out. That scares me because they say they won't, but that doesn't mean that they won't.
Yeah, I don't understand what their game plan is for this. I mean, I understand it's to catch up with the 4K technology, but when you have such a successful console already, why are you pushing the envelope? I mean, people, if there's not going to be anything like, okay, here's the new console. This is just, hey, it's an upgraded and it can do 4K, but we're not actually going to have anything for it specifically.
Well, see, and that the one thing that I did hear is that, and I can see this happening more with first party stuff.
Right.
We really utilize the power of this thing, but the problem with that is that then you do have a division of what is okay, so you have the PS4K here, and then you have the game I heard might be using this is the new God of War. Okay. So you have the God of War here. You're really utilizing this, but it's still going to be playable on the old PS4. But then you're getting a gypped version of it. So then that makes more work on the developers to have. It's almost like when you have like a PC game, and you have to put like, okay, maximum settings, minimum settings. But then you would run into the issue of the developers making sure that it runs on this one, and it has to make sure it doesn't get gimped too bad that where it's unplayable on the original SKU. So
yeah, it's gonna be hard to do because, like I said, if you're not gonna be putting out the 4K games only for it, it's gonna hinder it. I mean,
okay, if you were to tell me that if they would have said, all right, we're going to slowly start phasing out the PS4 models into this one.
Right, yeah.
That would make sense. Eventually people might buy another one if there's breaks or runs down. But they're talking about having 2 separate SKUs. And I'm not for that. I'm mixed because if it's I can see the good in it. I really can. I can see what good this would be doing by giving 4K gaming a chance to be the only console being capable of it, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you already have 40 million units sold. That's a lot. Especially as they're outpacing the prior generation, the PS3. They're on par to at this point in time beat the PS2. Although the longevity of that remains to be seen.
Right.
But at the way that they're moving, if they don't slow down, they will. And that's mind blowing to me. But I feel like this might be a misstep for them to put out and say, because they have to market it right. It's all about marketing. And if they've been marketing the PS4 well since the beginning,
yeah.
And this is a misstep for me. I kind of feel like.
Yeah, I mean, just keep with what's going good right now.
Right.
I mean, nothing. No one else is attempting to make 4K games, so you're not competing in a 4K market.
Mm-hmm.
But you are becoming the only 4K. So I understand why you would do it, because you want to be the only one. But if you're the only one that's capable of putting out games,
because the third party, are you going to convince the third party to up a Fallout 4 to 4K or up a Call of Duty or a Madden?
Only for Sony. That's what I'm saying. It's not across the board on the other systems. So you're asking your developers to do more than what they have to do with other consoles.
If a company is more in tight with the Microsoft, then they might not.
Right.
They might just stick to their like Tom Clancy, The Division had all their DLC exclusive first on the Xbox One, so that might sway their position to say, well, let's not put so much money into doing the 4K. We're business partners with Microsoft right now. Yeah, it really is a really weird conundrum, but that's the first story that I forgot to write down entirely. So this was almost like a riff topic because I had nothing to quote other than what was up here in my head about a few things, and we hadn't talked about it because we started and I said no, we're recording a podcast next week. Let's just put it on that. But for the first story, the PlayStation 3.50 update system software update is available. It should be available today, or it was on the 6th. And news features appearing offline.
Oh yes,
yes,
it's about time.
You know what? I love all my friends on my PlayStation list. I really do have quite a bigger list than I thought I did. I don't play with a lot of them. I rarely play multiplayer games. In fact, I just canceled my PS Plus.
Right.
I don't use it. I mean, other than playing Rocket League, I think that's the only major PS Plus game I played. And I'm going to buy that anyway when it comes in on physical. I'll get it back when Mass Effect comes out.
Right, yeah.
But for the time being, it's like, why am I paying? If Mass Effect's not coming out until March or April next year, that's $50 I can save in my pocket. So.
Yeah, because there's no games that you play online or anything like that, so there's no.
But when I do, see, this helps because then I won't get any messages from friends wanting to know if I want to go glitching.
You won't glitch.
I don't want to glitch, Vampiro. Now this is awesome because another thing is when we did play, I think we played Dragon Age about a year and a half ago, or
something along those lines.
We did play that with some friends, and there are times where I don't want to play with anybody. I just want to go online and play story mode, or I just want to go online and watch Netflix. Or these machines are so capable of doing other things besides gaming that I don't want to get bugged. And this is they did have like a busy thing where you can put up a symbol saying "I'm busy, don't message me." That doesn't stop people.
Right.
So
now, the question is it going to block all messages coming toward you? So, like, if you are watching Netflix and it says that you appear offline and say, I still want to leave you, like, a drop message for the next time you log on, is it going to pop up on my screen?
It doesn't say that. What it says is that basically you can designate whether or not you're online or offline, And when you can log in at any time from your profile or by holding down the PS button and to bring up the quick menu, it'll bring it up.
Will it log you in when you turn on your PS4? Log you in automatically offline?
Again, it doesn't say. So,
right.
I mean,
because our glitching friend, he would get you.
He would be. He would be right on that, man. You couldn't get away. Now you can also choose to get notified when your friends come online to receive notifications. Select a player, and hit options to hit notify when online. That way, if you're kind of hanging out offline and you don't want to be bugged by anybody else, but your best friend, and you want to go online and play some whatever Call of Duty or whatever game you're playing, and it'll just come up and it won't notify every friend, but you can notify certain people. So that's kind of cool. User scheduled event. I don't know much about the event stuff.
That would be kind of neat because does it say that you set it to your friends?
Yeah, to select a player from your friends list, and so that way you.
So if you've got like a
massive friends list.
Yeah, a massive friends list, and you're wanting to do like a, let's say Elder Scrolls Online. Mm-hmm. You're wanting to do a run with your friends instead of messaging everyone like it always does now. When you're like, hey, I'm looking for party members, it will only message the few that you want it to, and then you can schedule it so that everybody knows, hey, here's a friendly reminder, we're all supposed to play today or whenever. That's kind of neat.
Well, I mean, it'll just let you know when those friends, like if you just want to know when your Elder Scrolls Online friends are online.
Oh, I thought it was a scheduled event.
Oh, schedule event. Oh, okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, no, I thought you went back.
No. I'm scheduled a schedule event where you could like.
Oh, yes, but that's exactly it. We're adding the ability. It says here. This is on the PlayStation blog, by the way. To schedule gameplay sessions with your friends. Just select create an event. You'll be able to make an invitation for your upcoming gameplay session. Choose a day, time, game, and send it off to your friends. When your event starts, the users who registered will automatically be added to a party, so you can play right away.
That would be nice. For MMOs.
It would be.
Since now that you're seeing a lot more MMOs on consoles.
As well as shooters, too, if you're a big Call of Duty player or Battlefront or whatever, From here, you can also share an event to a group or community that you're a member of. And once shared, the event will be sent as a message, posted to a community wall, and members can register from there. Play together. This feature allows all members of a party to see what each person is playing so that you can easily join a friend's game or start a new game together. Sounds like something that should have been there to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of does it already when you scroll through your friends list.
The big one, remote play to PC and Mac.
What?
In this update, we're expanding PS4's remote play capabilities to work with Windows and Mac.
Wow.
You need the following software: Windows 8.1, 10 or later, and OS X 10.10 or 10.11 for Macs. You'll be able to select the following resolution frame rate options. Resolution, highest is 720p. Frame rate, standard 30 frames per second, and high is 60. You can use a DualShock 4 as a controller for remote play, which needs to be connected to your PC or Mac via USB cable.
Oh, so now they actually have a support for that.
I would assume so, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So as soon as the software update launches, you'll be able to download the Remote Play installer here. There's a link for it right there on the PlayStation blog. And along with that, the PlayStation app version 3.0 is out to both tomorrow. And new features are you can do user-scheduled events through your app. Daily Motion has been added to Live from PlayStation. And then other player-shared activities will appear on your activities. So, but yeah, you can now. So if you're ever upstairs, she's downstairs hogging the TV.
I could remote play my PS4 on the PC. Mm-hmm. That's neat.
Or you could just move your PS4 to that TV up there.
Well, it's all. I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, because you've always been able to stream, link from your PC to your PS4.
Mm-hmm. Now you can do that
other way. That's.
Yep. So that is that news bit. Moving on here. Basically, I kind of wanted to talk about Final Fantasy 15. We now know the release date as of last week as being September 30th.
Yeah.
Basically, this article is up on PlayStation Lifestyle.net. It's called How Final Fantasy 15 Seeks to Change Square Enix Reputation. So, basically, they really wanted to get their fans involved with this game. This game has been in development for about 10 years. By the time this comes out, it'll be out for about 10 years. Well, to begin with, it was Versus 13. It changed to 15. because it's been around for a long time. It's gone through many different development hells, I guess you could say.
And lots of changes.
What, the release date?
No, just the game in general has changed. It's evolved from being one thing to another multiple times.
Well, one thing that they did during their big, what was it called? Unraveled or...
I don't know.
I'm trying to... Uncovered. Greg Miller, Tim Geddes hosted it. Tim Geddes being a massive Final Fantasy fan, Greg Miller have barely even touched him. So they both hosted it with different perspectives.
Yeah.
The guy who was a diehard fan wanting to see what this was about, and the new person saying, what does this have to offer that the other ones hadn't got me hooked yet?
Right.
And they're really wanting this to really take off. They're putting a lot of stuff into this. Of course, they have a 6-part anime coming out. The first one's free up online. The next 4 will be available. I don't know when. And then I think the 6th one is a part of the collector's edition.
Yeah.
Which I heard are sold out
Already?
I heard they were. Now, see, this game interests me. I'm not sure if it's going to be a day one pickup for me.
I mean, I've got the Deus Mortis.
Was that the first demo? Because the second demo's out now.
It doesn't update on its own.
Well, okay, no. You have to download this demo separate.
Okay, yeah.
It's a new demo that came out last week.
The first one is one I played, and I mean, it's interesting. It's the first open world Final Fantasy, so you're not going to see it be completely smooth and perfect everywhere, but I do believe it will open the door for a new style of Final Fantasies outside of the turn-based.
Oh, you're right. Now, see, I will say this. 13 had me excited the first time I saw them, right?
Right.
And then I played the first one for about 10 hours or maybe a little bit under. I loved the gameplay of it, other than a few little gripes I had about you really only control Lightning, and if she dies, it's game over.
Right.
Anybody else, you can pick them back up. You can't pick her up at all. I didn't like that. The story, I didn't really get hooked in on it. It looked amazing. I heard you knew it, and of course with RPGs, you need to have it, let them a chance to reel you in, really get into the meat of it, and I didn't. That's my fault because I was trying to play it at a time where I was trying to play other stuff, and you can't do that if you're going to be an RPG. Or I mean, if you can, good on you. I can't.
I can't either.
But essentially, I haven't checked out either demo. I did a little bit on your old TV, which was about, darker than Hades.
Yeah, I've got the 4K now, and I played the old one,
the original.
The original demo. And the only complaint I have about it is that the screen is dimmed around the sides. It's not a clear state of view all the time. It changes, and I'm not too keen to that. I mean, I probably will get used to it, but I haven't tried the new demo. I didn't know that we had to download a new one. I thought it just updated.
It's called Platinum Demo.
Okay, I'll go ahead
and some people have said it reminds them of Kingdom Hearts, mostly because for a lot of it you do play as him as a kid with like a toy sword. That being said, I think it might be a dream sequence for some of it.
Maybe.
But I've seen it just a little bit because I actually was going to watch Unraveled last week, but like as I was laying in bed, getting ready to go to bed, they were still in the pre-show because it was California time.
So what time was it? Our times?
It was before 10, so the main show was going to start at 10.
Oh yeah.
So it was like 7 o'clock out there.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit irritated about that. They have no love for us first Eastern time. So like overall, like for games coming out in the fall, okay. Like for example, there's Horizon and there's
which I'm super excited
about.
Right.
But is this one anywhere on your radar? Since being a longtime Final Fantasy fan,
I will have to check out the second demo since I haven't kept up to date on it because it didn't hook me like the gameplay. I mean, I'm a Final Fantasy fan, so I'm gonna love the story no matter what it is because each Final Fantasy is different and unique, and I love the way that they tell their story. But I feel that the gameplay for me was lacking. Minus the fact that I had a very dark TV and I couldn't see anything. Yeah. But even with the 4K, when it gets dark, it's pitch black. So the little flashlights they have running around. So you're basically almost forced to not hunt at night. Play at night. So you have to sleep. And it's cool. I mean, it's cool, but I don't know if it's going to be a day one. I mean, I might wait till the price drops. I'm not completely sold yet. I mean, I'm really trying, and as
as the addict in me I'm really trying to slow down on buying games. And it's not. It is working, but it isn't working. Because when you convince me to go out to go game hunting, it really doesn't work. But when I stay away and I have a list that I want to try and complete before I really take a break and just focus on getting the new games that are coming out,
right?
Like Uncharted and this and that. But it looks. This one has me intrigued, like 13 did. But this one, seeing it takes me back. Okay. Seeing the trailers take me really... Whereas 13 was like, okay, cool, another Final Fantasy. This one's like, you know what? It has been a long time since I saw something that made me think that this looks like a Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Like, gameplay is different. Gameplay, it is different. I'm a turn-based guy myself. I like that style.
Me too.
But you know what? Maybe it will be. Maybe I will pre-order it and get it. Because I have Prime. I'll get it for like $48, and it won't be so bad.
Yeah, I will... If Amazon puts the collector's edition up, because I would like to get the last sequence of the anime, but only if they put it up will I get it again. Will I pre-order it?
I'm not gonna get the collector's edition. I'm just gonna get the straight copy of the game because they haven't sold me that much. They've sold me enough just based on interest to want to play it. Because see, I bought Final Fantasy 13 brand new from GameStop. Okay. $10. I waited that long to get it.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And it was $10. And I liked what I played. I just wished I would have stuck with it and played it more. Circumstances happen, and I get other games. But
right,
15. I want to get it maybe by Christmas. Maybe that'll be my goal.
Maybe Black Friday.
Maybe Black Friday. Maybe I'll try and get it by Christmas. Maybe I'll get it day one if we see more and more and more, and I play the Platinum demo and I'm intrigued enough, and I got nothing else going on.
Why not?
Maybe I'll just get it, and maybe I won't play it. Maybe I will. It all, being a dad kind of sucks that way.
I will definitely check out other people's gameplay of it on day
one. Especially when they start streaming it, right?
Yeah.
Another Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy VII Remake will be multiple full-size games. This just came out the other day, and I've been hiding this from you.
We had a big discussion about this. So that means that they're going to do what I was saying?
Hold on. Square Enix has clarified the episodic structure of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is on GameSpot, by the way. I'm very bad about telling people where stuff is before you get it.
Yeah.
Before I start. The details were revealed in the latest issue of Game Informer, which producer Katase, I'm not going to try and botch his first name. He was the director of the original game.
Right.
He's clarified, saying that the development team was using Final Fantasy 13 series, which encompassed a total of 3 games, as the model.
Okay.
So it's going to be a trilogy.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
This reimagined epic will be the next core Final Fantasy installment, or rather, installments. When the project was first announced, people were confused by its multi-part nature, but the goal was to structure it more like Final Fantasy 13 than an episodic series. He adds, it essentially will be a full-scale game for each part of the multi-part series. In 13, each installment told the story from a different angle. It was sort of like approaching an unknown territory sense. Whereas the 7 remake, we already have a pre-existing story, so it wouldn't really make sense that it isn't encompassed in a multi-part series. So we're just looking at each of these parts. One part should be on part with a scale of 1 Final Fantasy 13 game.
Right.
Continuing, the cover feature reiterates previous statement that Square Enix has made, taking some liberties with the story to modernize it. I, along with Nomura-san and Nojima-san, who are involved with the remake, who were also involved with the original FF7, we are the people who created it, so in a sense, we don't think anything is untouchable. That isn't to say that we're changing everything. But that does mean that they feel like they can take liberties to change stuff that they maybe don't like now that they put in the original.
I'm definitely okay with that, especially with them.
Well, it's a remake.
Yeah.
They're not just remastering the original game where it says, here it is untouched, nothing has changed. I'm okay with that too. And I'm also okay with it being, with them deciding that each one's going to be about a 30 to 40 hour epic, right?
Yeah.
Thing that you're going to see a lot more new stuff in that, because there's no way with the way that the original FF7 game is structured. Okay, you have to think that the middle part of the game is Eris's death, right?
Yes.
Okay, so for me personally,
well, maybe not even the middle. Maybe more of I would say that's really where the story actually takes off.
We'll see, but that's the difference. In the original game, that's so. In these trilogy,
It's true.
They might put more here, more here, and more here, to the point of by the time you get there, it's really reached an epic, almost part where it goes off somewhere else,
Right.
because now you're in it. Things are real now. And for me personally, that has to be the ending of the second game.
Oh, the death of Eris, yes.
But then again, maybe that's the ending of... I don't think it should be the ending of the first game, because
I think the first game should focus solely on Midgar.
We'll see, but then that's mismanaged, because then you have Midgar. I think Midgar needs to be big and explored, but I think maybe the first game is the first continent.
I could see that. Well, I would like to see them, if we're going to do that, I would like to see them move to Golden Saucer as the last part. Because Golden Saucer is like one of my favorite parts of the entire game. So.
I get that, but from a story standpoint, that's where Barrett's story is happening, so it doesn't really make sense. Because then what you can do, like for example, if you have it just on the main first continent,
right.
You have the whole story with Midgar. Then you have, what's Sephiroth? Who is this guy? Then you have his reveal with the flashback. Then you move on. Then you start wondering. Then you get like sort of the open world. You're out in the woods. You're out in the plains. You're getting chocobos. Then you go into the caverns, and then you can go to Fort Condor, do that whole side thing.
Right.
Then you go to Junon, where it's like, okay, Rufus is taken over. You're wandering around Junon. They've made it bigger, big explorative place. And plus you have other towns that maybe you can find along the way, little smaller towns, because as we know, we played Crisis Core. There are other places than the main towns. So you can explore those. But then, of course, you have Junon, and then you leave Junon, and then you have your first battle with Genova, and your first real encounter with, quotation, Sephiroth, since... I mean, it's your first time seeing him since the flashback.
Right.
And it leads you to a point of when you go to... That leads you into the next continent, where then you have a break in the story at Casa del Sol.
Right.
Goes into Barrett's story, then weaves into Zack a little bit, which they can delve deeper into now that his story is complete and final.
Yes.
Okay? So and then you can kind of take that into Golden Saucer. You can take it past Golden Saucer into Zack's, into Cosmo Canyon, into Nibelheim being nice and safe, and then you can end it with Eris's death. But because in everything after Eris's death, you do go new places. You go to the Northern Crater, you go to Mediel, but then after that, it's all places that you've been.
It's true.
So then after that, it's mainly just story, and it's mainly tying everything together.
So you're saying introduce Sid, Vincent...
Those guys
13.
in episode 2. Well, no, 13.
Well, 13 comes to...
13 would be...
So you'll have the story of 13.
What I would do is that for
Canyon.
the first part, okay? For the first part, I would do... I would end it at Junon, so maybe make it where you can get Yuffie before Junon, because you can.
Yes.
And she can be there. Or you can get Yuffie right in this... you can add Yuffie, Kate Sith, Sid and Yuffie, or Sid and Vincent during game 2, right?
Right.
So then you have your core group for the first one. The other guys come in for game 2, and then the whole third part is finding Cloud. It is getting everything back together. Then it's battling Shinra and the Meteor. Then it's almost in game, right?
Right.
So I kind of feel like if you're doing a trilogy like that, I think that's the best way to do it, because then the last part of the game after Eris dies is a lot of info coming your way.
Yes, and it does need to be split up.
And so for that last game to do that, it has you have a lot of revelation, you have a lot of this, a lot of that. It also gives them a chance to put even more, since they're going to make that 30 hours. Mind blown, man! You can do so much with it. You can add so much. You can basically have almost 10 complete hours without Cloud.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
but I mean,
do a little grinding,
or maybe some chocobo racing. Who knows?
Now, here's another question: are they going? I hope that they keep the choco breeding in there, maybe a little bit more refined, instead of the basically what everybody did was wait for somebody to figure it out and then get it online because it was really hard to figure out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never figured it out on my own. I gave up, and I got a blue one.
I had the guy. And that's how I was able to do it. I had the guy when I got the game. However, the part in here that really got me, when he said, quotation, "This reimagined epic will be the next core Final Fantasy installment. After 15, it's FF7. They're not moving on to 16 until they get done with FF7.
Or
at least almost done, you know? But
yeah, like they
all right, on the fly here, I just want to go to Final Fantasy 13, right? Final Fantasy. I can't type because I just typed Final Fantasy 13 trilogy. Because I really want to see the release dates to see how long it took them to put out all 3 games. Because it didn't seem like it took that long. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, they kind of were.
I think so the last one came out, and I typed the last one in first, which I actually want to be on the regular Wikipedia, not Wikipedia Final Fantasy. Here we go, because that'll let me easily click on the other ones, because it'll be part of the series, or maybe not. Okay, here we go. 13. So 13 came out here's the North American.
January 13th?
Was it January?
Or January, you just moved up above it?
No. That's how many copies it sold.
Okay.
In Japan, it was worldwide, March 9th, 2010.
Okay.
March 9th, 2010, it was released on PS3 and Xbox 360. Now, the second game, maybe I can find that easily. I love how I'm just doing this on the fly. I actually had no plan of this whatsoever. Where is it? All right, so it was 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then Lightning Returns was the third one. That came out in North America February 11th, 2014. So that's the big part. From 10, so it took 4 years to get 1 to 3.
So are we thinking we're going to see the same thing with 7? About a 4-year installment?
We'll see potentially, because you got to think the engine's already created. So that's part of the deal, okay? The engine's already created. They don't have to make a new story. They just have to edit their own story.
True.
So there's parts here that's going to make it quicker, parts that's going to make it longer because of how they got to handle it and everything. But from that case, I'm okay with that because, I mean, I'm not, because I want to play it all, because I'm...
Yes, I know.
But I want them to do it right. Yes,
and here's my thing with today's gaming is it's very graphically demanding. So, and I can't wait to see Midgar in 1080p, where it's you're standing and you're looking up at the buildings, not how it was before at the top view. Now you're actually getting a scope at how large this city is, because in the movie you see how large the city is and it's massive, and you don't get that in Final Fantasy VII other than you're running around aimlessly for a long time.
Well, and they said they did want to open up Midgar a little bit for more exploration for areas that you couldn't go before. So I'm excited to see that as well.
Yes. Maybe you'll get to really walk around through the church and actually get to view the slums.
Well, maybe you get to go to other slums and other sectors that you couldn't go to before.
That would be cool to see more sectors.
Going from one remake to another, Resident Evil 2 remake will stay true to the original. As a quote from what's his name? Hirabayashi?
Hirabayashi? Yeah.
Yep. I can't even... I suck at saying Japanese names, by the way. I totally do. Basically...
where are we getting this from?
This is from Bloody Disgusting. This was on a couple different ones. I originally read it on GameSpot, but I couldn't find the exact article when I was trying to find it easily anyway. Basically, what he said is that they are... the team's working hard on the game at the moment, and some of the reasons why I think we can recapture the spirit of the first game. He's also saying that they're looking at feedback from I almost said FF6.
Wow.
Resident Evil 6. I saw a lot of feedback from Resident Evil 6, and I've taken on board everything I've heard from the fans about the game, and I want to show you what it taught me with through the next experience I'll be bringing you. Essentially, what this guy also said is that Resident Evil 2 was the first game of the series that he played, and that he knows that a remake can recapture the essence of the original, because the first game on the series that he worked on was the remake of the original one for the GameCube.
Right.
So this is sort of giving us reassurance that they're not going to just take Resident Evil 2 and paste it over with the new style of game. They're actually going to try and keep it, even though it's going to be feel more modern probably, to the spirit of the original.
One of the scariest parts in all gaming, what's behind the door.
Oh, dude, I really do hope they have that, because I love that.
One of the things that I was thinking to modernize the sequence with the door is to actually make it to where your character opens the door. When he opens the door, there could be a point where the zombie slams up against the door and you're literally fighting to keep the zombie out of the room you're currently in.
That'd be cool.
Or dogs or anything like that, where maybe like each door, like if you know there's something in there, you just kick the door down and you just go in guns blazing. Or you can try to be a little sly and sneak around and maybe utilize more of the knife instead of you doing the shh and then run away.
Yeah.
And then run away. I mean, make it more modern, make it more into the way that the fast-paced gaming that there are now. Like, make it really scary, because like if you go to open a door and you're like, I'm going to be real quiet, and there is no being quiet at this door, no matter how you open it, he's coming at you.
Yeah.
So you get the crap scared out of you when he slams up against that door and it's like
arm reaching through the door trying to get you. Yeah.
That would be really neat.
We'll see. That's also a callback a little bit of a ways to the original game, when you try to open up the main door and a dog kind of comes up and they try to shut the door.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of neat. But I'm just excited. There wasn't much here to say other than I'm excited that it's going to try and stay true to the original game. Resident Evil 2 is my personal favorite of the series. I love the first one, though. That's the one I have the most copies of, is the original game. Because I rented the second one. That was the first game I ever rented for the PlayStation. One was Resident Evil 2. Scared the hell out of me, and I wanted it for Christmas. I only had $20 for Christmas money, and I wanted to ask my dad, hey, can I borrow $20? And he goes, no, why don't you just buy this one? And it was the original. And I'm like, fine. And then I absolutely ended up loving the original for completely different reasons.
Yeah, those are great games. I mean, I'm excited. I think it's one of the probably the best out of it. I mean, the first one's really good, but it's more of the open sense of like you get to see the destruction. You're understanding what this epidemic is and what it has caused Raccoon City. And that's really neat to see that, and what's going to be really cool. Yet again, just like Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VII, you get to see these buildings that you grew up with, that we grew up with, playing these games multiple times, and get to see what's happening, like how they look.
Oh yeah, it'd be really neat to go through the police station.
Yes.
And I'm just telling you, the only thing I want in this game, other than it being updated, I want the music that plays when you first go into the police station, right in the hall.
Yes.
That has to be the same.
Has to be the same.
And then the save room music has to be the same.
And it has to be a typewriter.
Yes.
It has to be.
100%.
There's no other way.
Moving on. Nintendo files patent for device with object detection.
Here we go.
Basically, this patent was filed in 2014. Documents were published yesterday. Then contain a great amount of technical detail. This is on IGN, by the way.
Okay.
Though similar in appearance to an NFC reader for the 3DS, this device is a new design that can use a camera to photograph and detect an area around it, as well as use a light source projector. The detection device would also be capable of wireless transmission with a computer.
Wait. A projector?
Description of the patent can be found on this NeoGAF post. So we're going into the world of NeoGAF. Basically, it is some... What the heck do we have here?
What is that?
It
looks like a lampshade of mountains.
I think those are trees.
I don't
understand.
I don't understand what it's showing us here.
I'm trying to exactly kind of figure out. So,
is that like a pod that you would push and it actually projects an image up?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, granted, it's a wide angle camera which can photo 360 degree in the circumference. So basically, it'll take the picture.
So are we looking at the first real attempt at a holographic?
No, because that's
what
Xbox has that with HoloLens.
Yeah, but I'm talking like something you can. What is it? You can hold that in your hand. I'm talking like a pod that sits on the ground and images out.
There isn't much that is on the IGN article about it. It can be used as a controller of sorts, I guess. The inventor listed on the patent is Fumiko. Oh, I'm not even going to pronounce it. Who has 3 other Nintendo patents filed under his name. Many are speculating whether this has something to do with Project NX. Of course, we could see before E3, according to one analyst, and we reached out for Nintendo for a comment, and of course, they do not comment on speculations or rumors. They didn't say that, but I guarantee you that's what they're going to come back with.
It's just same thing as always.
It's basically, this is just even more conjecture about what the hell's going on. With the NX, which we know absolutely nothing about, concrete, and especially all those leaks of photos that looked so real, especially that go along with the patent of a certain shape of a controller.
That guy that made that in his 3D printer, kudos to him.
Yeah,
that looked really good.
It fooled me, man. It looked real. It looked really real. Anyway, moving on. There's something I want to talk to you about.
Uh-oh. Who do we even talk about?
Now, there's a new retro console coming out, just like the Retron 5, right?
Okay.
That promises to have a dog drink water.
Yeah. You did love that. All right.
New retro console, just like the Retron 5s, that promises to play all the games. So let's go through the things that it does play. It plays Famicom, SNES. It plays Genesis, PC Engine, TurboGrafx 16, Game Boy Advance. More water drinking.
And we'll pause for the water drinking.
Gulp, gulp. This is what happens when we have pets and we try to podcast.
Yes. Okay.
So Game Boy Color, Super Graphics. But it also looks like it also does Super Famicom, Mega Drive also for the other versions of SNES and Genesis.
Right.
And so PC Engine, TurboGrafx. That's the PC Engine's Japanese version of TurboGrafx. And then the Super Graphics, which I can't remember if we got that or if it was just in Japan.
I don't know if we got that.
But anyway, it also says that with an adapter, you'll be able to play Nintendo games through the Famicom port.
Right.
And Master System games. What's the word I'm looking for here? Sega Mark III / SG-1000, which is the before the Master System, or was one of them is the Japanese version of the Master System, one of those, but also Game Gear.
Huh.
And currently, the premium version of this is available on PlayAsia.com for $200.
That's not bad at all.
And it does all that. It
runs on Game Boy games too, right?
It plays Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and then TurboGrafx, and then those versions of TurboGrafx and Super Graphics. It uses the same basic port for that. So those go in the front right next door, it runs on Android, so it dumps the ROM just like before, right? Or like on their Retron 5,
right?
So it dumps the ROM and it runs on an Android-based thing. It also has a port for controller input, because it comes with a controller that looks like a Super Nintendo controller.
Right. Yeah, it does.
And you have to plug something in via USB to use the original controllers, but you can only do one controller per. But you can use any of the controllers that they have available. Now, the thing that I saw this in in like a YouTube video. I think it was Gamester81. I didn't watch the whole thing. He played a lot of them, but these retro consoles are a little bit controversial because you're not playing on original hardware.
Right.
Now, I think it's perfectly great for trying to upscale your retro games onto HDTV, since they do HDMI.
Yes.
If you have the capability, I would suggest that you stick to the original hardware on an old TV. Do it as it was meant to be. However, that's getting harder and harder to come by.
It is.
And I think at the end of the day, and here's my opinion of these retro consoles that do HD conversion, and just in a nutshell, I'm for whatever keeps the hobby and these old systems alive. Granted, you can do mods on your old systems, get those up to HDMI, you can do all this crap, or you can buy one of these and make it easy. It is emulation, so it's not 100% accurate to the original system. However, it's more accessible. You have less clutter for all these systems. Okay, you can use one controller if you want. Like they include the Super Nintendo type controller. You can use those for every single one. And to have all these systems in one, and basically all you got to do is, keep your games in shape.
Yep.
And that's it. So I'm for it. I'm definitely more, and I like this because even though it's more expensive than the Retron 5, it does give you a different alternative to the Retron 5 if you do not like the Retron 5.
Yeah, the question is which one is going to run better, because that's the only thing that's really going to hold you back.
There is a standard version for 170. I tried to look before we started to see what the difference is between the packages, but I could not figure it out. So one's about $30 more for reasons I can't tell you. The converter for the Game Gear, Sega Mark, and 3 SG-1000 is $60. That hurts.
Yeah.
That does hurt. And obviously, since it can play NES games, but it has to be done through a converter, I don't see the converter on here. But
so that'll be a separate purchase.
It's another separate purchase. We don't know how much that is. Probably, I would say, another $60.
At that price, you might as well just go out and buy an original Nintendo.
An original Nintendo or, Retron 5. Because it plays that. The only thing it doesn't have is TurboGrafx.
TurboGrafx, right.
And we'll see. And also, an interesting thing that happened, was it this year or last year, the patents for the N64 are now up. So now N64 can now be done via these new systems as well. So that would be cool to see. Because it's going to be one of the... we haven't seen too many like reproduction systems like this or newer retro systems that play disc-based games, so we don't know anything about that.
Yeah,
that's for cartridges. That'll be the last hurrah. Is the N64.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see those come out as well. And that is it for the news.
Oh wow!
Except for upcoming releases for the next month.
Ooh.
Well, a month and a half, because there's a lot of stuff here that I'm just going to skip over. But Quantum Break is out this week. Quantum Break, the exclusive to Xbox One, scored pretty well across the board. It seems like it's going to be pretty cool. I want to say they had some sort of TV show tie-in with that. I don't know. I honestly haven't looked into it more other than that I know it stars the guy that played Iceman for the X-Men movies.
Right.
Yeah, he's the star of it, and he's also in like the other thing as well. Dark Souls 3 is out next week, along with the remake of Ratchet and Clank, which that's going to coincide with the movie as well.
Right.
Anything else this month? The Bravely Second End Layer comes out next week as well for the 3DS. Axiom Verge comes to the Vita finally after a year.
Ooh. The Metrovania style game.
It's yes, it's gonna. I've heard that it's going to be free if you own the PS4 version to download, and if you don't own it already, it's going to be on discount for the first week.
Ooh.
So that might be something looking into because you just got your Vita and you love it.
Yes, I do, and I'm looking to purchase more games.
April 22nd, Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard. Those will be available together or separate, however you want. And that seems like the last of what I think is worthy to talk about in April. Going into May, Battleborn, Uncharted 4 got moved to May 10th. Doom comes out. That's when Doom comes out. That's pretty neat. Valkyria Chronicles Remastered PS4. That's the first Valkyria Chronicles game that came out on PS3. That's cool that game is getting a re-release because it's one of those games that was a sleeper hit.
Yep.
Where nobody expected it. And unfortunately, hopefully this does mean that we'll see the other two games get remastered as well because those two games are only available on the PSP.
Ah.
And only the second one was released over here. So hopefully we get those other two, and hopefully Sega decides to continue this series because I honestly think it's unique enough to warrant that.
Yes.
The last one here I'll talk about, Overwatch. That is the Blizzard kind of MOBA game that they're coming out with. Is that MOBA? They've been airing stuff for it, but it's a Blizzard game for the consoles and PC. Then we also have the last one, which I've seen video of, and it looks fun. Made by Platinum, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan. It's based off of the current comic series. It has a little bit of the new cartoon series, some of the old cartoon series, a lot of the old... one thing I'm really liking about this new cartoon series, and I'm not watching, is how I'm just seeing this in the toys, right? I'll go to the toys, and I have this really cool story about how like a year and a half ago for Christmas or whatever, I bought my cousin all the 4 Turtles, Splinter, April, Shredder, because he was getting the Turtle Blimp or whatever, and he needed turtles. And I said, well, damn it, he's getting all the turtles.
Yeah, you gotta have all the turtles.
And you gotta have April. You gotta get that nosy bitch just getting all in their business.
Yep.
You gotta have Splinter. He trained him. You gotta have Shredder. He hates them.
Yep.
So he got them all. And every once in a while, I'll just go and look. And he's not really. I'm not sure how into the toys he is anymore. But they have all these cool new versions of the old, awesome, different mini character side characters from when I was a kid that I had all these toys of.
Really?
Like that one android robot, really he was like a gold robot that was like really skinny. Who you're talking about. And then they have like Slash. Yep. They had a version. They had a newer robot version of that robot. I can't remember his name. He's the robot turtle that.
Oh man.
Shellhead. Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I know what you're talking about.
And then the crocodile. They have new versions of all these characters, and the new toy format, and then they're in the show.
Are they that style?
Yeah, they're in the newer style. Well, but see, I'm not a big fan of that style, but I just think it's so awesome that they exist.
That they're bringing them back, and that they're
because the people who are making this show are fans of the old show. So I respect it and I get it. I haven't watched it, but just last week or a week before, they did an episode where they brought back the old Turtles from the original cartoon series.
Oh, yeah, you told me, yeah.
Where the new Turtles went back and into the 2D format, they crossed universes, and they brought them forward to the new 3D verse. Huh. Oh, I want to see it.
That's pretty neat.
But this Turtles game, Mutants in Manhattan, is like a beat 'em up. It's 4 players. It can be online 4-player because they couldn't do local with the frame rate.
Right.
But you can also control all 4 players with one controller. With one player, you can switch and do combos. And their moves have a refresh rate, like a RPG-ish type thing.
So they're auto set on moves?
Well, no, you can actually, as you're playing, you can when you're near the turtle, because all 4 are running around and fighting. Right. If you're near certain ones, they have combo moves that you can do together.
Oh, so that's kind of the same concept that they're going to do with Final Fantasy 15. Is you can do a combination with them.
But this one is more beat 'em up style. Huh. It's like a big 3D. It's a little bit open world.
Right.
It is segmented in stages, but you're running around fighting the foot and kicking butt, and it's crazy and it's fast paced and fun. Huh. And then each level is based around a boss. So the boss is there, and you have to go fight the boss and continue the story that way. Huh. And it is a completely new story written by the person who's writing the comic book right now. And the style of them is not necessarily based off the show, but it's a lot of the new show, the old show, the comics. It's
kind of a blend.
It's a blend of everything, but it's new Turtle game coming out on May 24th. So.
I might have to look into that.
Definitely, I would. I think that there's some gameplay on YouTube and stuff like that, so you can kind of see.
What systems is that coming out for?
Xbox One, 360, PS4, PS3, and PC.
Okay.
So that is our news. That is our upcoming releases. And so now we're going to move on and talk about sort of our main topic. And this first episode's main topic is going to be our journeys into gaming, journeys into collecting, because it's 2 completely different things.
Yes.
And basically, I'll let you go first. How did you get into games?
Well, I mean, actually, when I was probably 5, my parents bought a Nintendo, the original Nintendo. And I used to sneak out of my bedroom in the middle of the night, like most kids did, at like 1 a.m., sneak in there and play it. And that's what really got me started on the games.
So your first game was Mario Brothers?
Mario and Duck Hunt.
Okay, so you had the
combo. Because it was they bought it with Mario and Duck Hunt. Cool.
I never owned an NES. My friends and some of my family did, so that's how I played that. But my first game that I have a memory of playing is actually on the ColecoVision, Smurf Return to Gargamel Castle, because I just remember the number pad version of just a controller and being confused. Yeah. And it being an older console, so I think it hooked up via like the UHF, like you had to like take like the little prongs, you had to screw them into your
Oh
into
yeah,
this thing
that
on
was,
your TV.
Man, that thing was confusing.
Because I had no idea how to do it. I was so young. I mean, by the time I played this, the NES was out. But it was older, and one of my dad's friends just, I don't know if he got it for pretty cheap and gave it to his kids, and so I played it, loved it. That's all I wanted to do, and then they let us borrow it. And I remember they surprised me I was at my dad's friend's house. My dad and his friend disappeared while I was hanging out with his kids. And I, of course, as a little kid, where's dad? Where's dad? Where's dad? Where's dad?
Right.
Well, I go home. My mom's laying on the floor playing ColecoVision.
Huh.
And I go in and we have fun. And that's the last part I remember. So I don't even remember borrowing it. But I that memory is vivid. I remember playing NES at my cousin's house when my parents left me there all night for the very first time. Freaking out. Cried all night until I played RC Pro-Am. and it occupied me for a while, but that's how I got into it. My first system I owned was SNES, and so other than that, I didn't own one until then. So my first game on that was Super Mario World because that's what it came with.
Great,
and great game. But so that's how I got into it, and of course it kind of goes from there. You know, the PlayStation was my next big one. I did have a Genesis. And I did split games between the SNES and the Genesis, but I do prefer the SNES, even to this day. I don't dislike the Genesis, but I'm just more favorable towards the SNES.
I think the SNES had much better games across the board.
Yeah. I mean, across the board, yes, but there are some really cool gems on the Genesis that are worth looking into.
Yes, there definitely is, but
they definitely, and this is weird because I don't really care about them, but they have better sports games.
Yeah,
like on the Genesis, but. The PS1 was the next big one that I got.
Yeah, that was my first day one.
Day one?
That my dad went and got it for me day one. And I got Jet Moto. And I remember playing that game until it completely was unplayable anymore. And then Gran Turismo came out. And I at least went through 3 copies of that. Because how much I played it. I
think I got mine in 98, so it had been around for a little while by the time I got mine. And the copy of the game I got, because I was big into wrestling back then. I mean, come on, I still am. I host a wrestling podcast on this channel, by the way. But WWF Warzone is what I got with that and the demo disc. And we couldn't figure out how to hook up the AV cables. I kid you not. We were so used to RF that we couldn't figure out how to hook it in because our TV didn't have those hookups. Our VCR did, but we couldn't figure out how to get it to show up on the TV. So
I remember those days. Those days were.
So me and Rob, he spent the night. It was Halloween, it was in my hometown. We did a Halloween the Friday before Halloween. So it was the Friday before Halloween where we had our Halloween in the town. We went trick or treating. We were going to play PlayStation all night. We didn't play PlayStation all night because we couldn't figure out how to work it. I had to wait for the next day for my dad to go buy an RF modulator, and then I could play it through the RF.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, from there, it was. I decided to get that instead of a 64 because my friends were all getting 64s, and I was about to go that way because we sort of had like a trade system for the SNES. That's how I played so many games, because we all had SNESs. We would all get a different variety of games. So yeah. I would borrow Maximum Carnage from this guy. I would borrow Mario RPG or Mario Kart from this guy, and then I would let them borrow this Street Fighter or Star Fox, and we just had this sort of trade ring going on. Yeah. Oh, and Turtles in Time. That's how I played that. So there's a lot of games I didn't own because we were poor. Yeah. So I didn't get a lot of games, and a lot of times the games I did get had been out for a little while, so they've been discounted.
Yep.
That was a honk.
Yeah, it was a honk.
However, then it sort of came to be that I sold a lot of my gaming stuff.
Right, I remember.
I sold almost everything but my PS3 and that collection that I had for that. Select PS2 stuff in the system and stuff that I just kind of decided to keep. And then I went to my mom's a few months later. She asked me to clean out my closet, my old closet from my bedroom that I had there that I was no longer using, obviously. And I found my Super Nintendo with Star Fox still in it. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I found a handful of PS1 games. I found Tomb Raider. I found a couple of the sports games. A lot of the games that my dad got me early on the PS1 that his friend at work he had one. He was just getting rid of them. He wasn't playing it anymore. So he just kind of gave me a flood of the games. Some of those games I still hadn't took with me when I moved out, but some of those games I left there, and I took those home and plugged in the Super Nintendo. I didn't have a controller. Tried to get to work. I got to work. I couldn't play it. And the next day, I go out and I buy my first retro gaming haul. I got a controller. I got Maximum Carnage. And then I got Fear Effect 1 for the PS1. And then I got a game that I rented, but it isn't a very great game, but I rented it and had a lot of fun with it. It was Covert Ops Nuclear Dawn. And that's what started it. And I decided that I'm going to get back into some of the stuff that I had and new games that old games that I never owned. And I'm going to collect for PS1 and SNES. That's it. And newer stuff.
Right.
So I did that. Honestly, I stayed true to that for about 6 months. And it was very sporadic when I would buy stuff. I didn't go out very often and get stuff. It was very slow, very methodic. When I had money, I would do it. And then I slowly started watching other collectors and seeing their game rooms, deciding that, well, I'd like to have this. I like to have that. I still have my PS2. Man, I'd like to get some of these games. I'm like, all right, so I decided to get some PS2 stuff. And I'm like, all right, then I would like to get some of these games. So I slowly started buying back the stuff I had. And then, of course, you went with me on my big haul that I did that year to really establish what was going to be the basis for the systems I was going to collect for. And since that, it's all been downhill from there. It's been a little here, a little there, a lot here, a lot there, as far as like buying stuff. And you watched me go through this mode, and then you basically just started collecting within the last few months.
Yeah, like actually, okay, now I'm going to start collecting. I mean, I've been kind of picking stuff up here and there.
Yeah, because you did like the GBA there for a little bit.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite systems. I love the GBA.
But what was it that inspired you to do that?
It was kind of a mix. The lack of games that I love coming to the new consoles. Mm-hmm. So I decided, there's a lot of old games I haven't played. I should probably go back now that we have a good break in between, Final Fantasies.
Big AAA titles.
The big AAA titles. Triple E. And it got me to where I was like, okay, now I can pick up these games that I've never played before. So that's what I've been doing. And I mean, I've been getting real lucky. I like finding a GameCube for $17.
Oh yeah,
like that, and it looked brand new. I've just been getting a lot of good deals and been finding a Mario RPG. That
Well, see, now you know my addiction because I will tell myself I'm done for a while. I'm done. I'm not going out. I need to tell myself to stop. I need to stop spending money. I need to put it on other stuff, and then I'll go out and I'm like. And then there'll be such a great deal. I'll find stuff at Goodwill. All the controllers I found all in a row, man. I found I found an N64 controller beat to heck with Doritos and Cheeto crumbs in it, but it had the Pokemon Game Boy adapter for Stadium.
Yeah.
And I got both for $3, and then I used that as a trial controller for testing and cleaning out and fixing. And then I found another one, barely used N64 dark gray controller, Found that for $3. I found a Guitar Hero Aerosmith for Wii controller because you gave me Guitar Hero 3 for Wii, so I needed a Wii controller, and I happened to find the Aerosmith controller for $3. Yeah. Found PS1, PS2 controllers, $3.
You can't beat it.
No, you can't. And then once you get to the point of how much can I spend? What do I want? They have this. Sometimes I spend more because they'll have it.
Yep.
And then it's like, do I want it that bad?
Well, the big thing for me, and I've done this twice so far that I've told you of, the Zelda Link to the Past and Super Mario RPG. Those games I told you at work, I bet we'll go and I bet they'll have Link to the Past. And they have Link to the Past. So I'm flipping out because that's one of my top games of all time.
It's my top 5.
The second that I saw me and Joanna, my fiance, went out and we were looking around and she was looking for her movies and I was like, well, we're here. I'm just gonna go ahead and peek and see what I find. I wasn't even allowed to spend any money. and then that was there.
I've been there.
And then you don't want to pass it up because you know that it's going to be months before you find it again.
Well, see, and that's the thing is that like a game like that isn't that rare, but in the area where we live, you don't see stuff like that all the time. Or every time you do, you don't have the money, so you pass it up. But then you're like, when you have the money, then you never see it.
Yep.
And that's what I did. I overpaid for it, and I'll gladly admit that. I overpaid for that and Turtles in Time because when I found them, I had the money to spend, and I wanted it. I wanted it that bad. Those are games that I want crossed off my list. Could I wait to find those at a garage sale for $3 a piece? Yeah.
Do you want to?
We'll see that, and that's part of the addiction is that I want to get those. I'm not a completionist with that though. It's like that's a good part of my addiction. I don't want a complete collection for any of the game systems I have.
So before you continue, why don't you go ahead and tell the listeners your ease phenomenon here that I don't understand how you were this lucky.
Well, I didn't even know what ease was before I got into collecting. Right. I maybe have seen it around or I never looked into it. It was basically the RPGs I grew up with. I grew up with Final Fantasy. I grew up with Legend of Dragoon, stuff like that. Even a little bit of Dragon Warrior. I knew of it. I didn't play a whole lot of it. Or Dragon Quest, if you will. But for me, when I found out what Ease was, I'm like, I need to try and find these. These look like they could be fun. And there's multiple different releases on different systems throughout the ages, whether it's Master System or TurboGrafx going into. There's one on the Super Nintendo that's completely different. They're so sporadically, but the system where they're really primarily located on is the PSP. You can get a lot of them on there, and so the first one I found was Ease Arc of Napishtim. Napishtism.
I think you're right.
It's E6. Okay, I found that on PS2 for like under $20, like $18. I'm like, hey, I got $20. I'm gonna get that. So I bought it, and then we went with you and I went to our local disc replay, and you were looking for a PSP, an actual PSP, not a PSP Go.
Yes. And I got lucky and found the green one.
The
Peace Walker version.
Yeah, the Peace Walker one. And I had already promised my $30 to a coworker to buy The Division because he bought 2 copies, and he offered to sell it to me for like half price. And I said, you can't beat that even if I don't really want to play it. Right. It's like, hell, if I don't like it, I can sell it for like $50-$40. Yep. So hey, what do you know? I'll go check it out. But then you were going to go back and get your PSP games, and of course Crisis Core, whatever else you decided to get that day.
Yeah, the have tos on that system is what I got that day.
So that's when the guy says, "Hey, I have these up here," and I assume those came with the system.
Right, I do too.
He had a whole stack of some RPGs, and on the very bottom were Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles and Ys 7, the premium collector's editions.
Both of them were the collector's editions.
And I think Ys 7 was $10 and Ys Chronicles was $20. And I opened them, and Ys Chronicles was it came with the soundtrack CD. The soundtrack CD was still sealed, but the game was open. And Ys 7, everything in it was sealed. The game and the soundtrack. Of course, there's a book, but it wasn't sealed.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And then you say, hey, I'm already starting to getting the collector's editions. I'm going to go ahead and order the next one. Was it Ys 3?
Ys 3 or Ys Oath and Felghana. So, yes, when I realized that these 3 boxes make a picture on the side, it was over.
Yep.
The addiction had set in, and I have to get the one I'm missing. Of course, when am I going to see this in the wild, right? So yeah. I decide this is the 3rd game that I bought used on Amazon. I don't do it a lot. I refuse to.
Yeah, I'm not partial to it either.
I would much rather find it in the wild where I can hold it in my hands and decide if I want to buy it. Because I bought Shenmue because I was too impatient.
Yeah, well, I mean, around here...
It's well warranted because even other places that I travel to, I haven't found a copy of it.
Yeah, it's...
And it's not rare, I just haven't found a copy of it. So
right.
I have it for my own personal play. I did pay pretty much going price for it. Too much, yes, because I want to get stuff cheap, but so be it. And then I did get the Final Fantasy 6 and Final Fantasy 5, I think it was Anthology on PS1.
Yes.
I got that to finish up that collection, and I got the soundtrack CD with it. So, hey, well, that was used. I paid about $20 for it. Okay. Probably could have paid a little less if I'd have found it. But it was the original black label with the soundtrack CD. Hey, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Okay, so I bought that. And both were in pretty decent condition. Both were as sold, right? Excuse me. Ease, Oath and Felghana. I see a copy for $30. Maybe it's like $32 with shipping because it wasn't free shipping. $32, $33. So it says it's in good condition. No pictures because sometimes you'll see pictures of what it is and sometimes not.
Right.
I've had pretty good luck on there because of the games. And I did buy the R2-D2 Xbox.
You did, and that was
used on there.
Excellent condition.
It came with the box. It was missing a few things from the box. It was missing the all the paperwork and some of the plastic, but whatever.
Yeah.
I have the system, I have the box, I have the Kinect, I have the controller. I'm happy. So it says that this Ease game is in good condition, and I'm like, as long as it's in good condition and the box looks good, I'm happy. I don't care if the game's open because I opened E7.
Right.
To me, as long as it's not like stadium events or Little Samson, some astronomical craziness find that I'm going to find sealed, I'm going to open it because I feel games should be played. If I find Earthbound sealed, I might sell it. Maybe. Yeah, sure. Okay. It probably will
and
go
then
for...
buy a used copy.
I'll buy a used copy of Earthbound, Yeah. But I mean, but for the most part, I believe games should be played. I'm not buying my collection just to have it sit on a shelf and do nothing, although that's what it's doing most of the time. I buy them with the intention of playing them someday. There's gonna come a day where I don't buy a whole lot of new games, especially when we get to the dawn of the digital era, which, you know what, it's coming. You got to just, swallow it and take it. I'm not going to give up modern gaming because there's going to be games that come out that I want to play.
Oh, yeah.
But as I buy less physical copy stuff and I find less newer stuff I want to play, I have stuff I can play.
Right.
I have a whole library.
Yeah, your retirement's going to be awesome.
Oh, yes, it will. But anyway, so I order this game, and it comes in. And I remember we were hanging out that day, and we went game hunting and whatnot, and then I think we got together afterwards. Or for like a little bit, and then I told you my fear.
That was we went to the movies.
We did go see Batman v Superman. Yeah.
Yep.
My fear was finding this, open this thing up, and it's just falling apart. That's my fear. But it's Amazon, so if it's not as described, it's not like eBay where you're like have to do a whole thing. It's Amazon. You're pretty covered. And
during this entire time, me and you were joking about how shoddy the box is going to be. The game's going to be in good condition, but the box is just going to be...
Yeah, terrible. Yeah. Anyway, I open it. The box looks good. I'm like, awesome. Yes, fine. Okay, that's all I cared about. As long as everything is in it and the box looks good, I'm happy. Okay? Open it up. Everything's still sealed.
Yeah.
And I'm at a loss because I paid used price for something that was brand new.
Yes.
And I wonder if they put it as good condition used because there was no wrapping around the outside plastic or on the box. But there never was.
That could also be a clause with if it's not as original, so as you would have picked it off the shelf.
No, they had new ones on there going for much more.
Well, I'm saying the reason why they had to put it as used good was the fact that it didn't have the original cellophane on it. Yeah,
well, there is no original cellophane on it.
It's just a regular box?
Yeah. All those games come that way. It comes with a box. It's just like Earthbound. Earthbound, if you go on eBay and they say Earthbound, Super Nintendo, sealed, it's not true because that game was never sealed.
Okay.
So this is like, when you open the case, the game inside is sealed,
right.
But the box isn't.
Right.
It is a collector's box. That is not sealed.
I wonder what I'm assuming that was a miss.
Like a mistake.
Yeah.
Good for me because I paid half of what a new version of that. Because I think the cheapest one on the new one was actually verified through Amazon warehouse where it was like $65, and I paid $30. Which, again, there's that whole thing of do I pay more than what I would want to pay? Because since I got the other ones combined for $30, but it was I gotta have this. I have to complete it. It's the addiction.
Yep.
It's the addiction of that. And then I remember I kind of toyed with your emotions a little bit.
Yes.
The next day, I sent you a message saying that it was not as described in good condition, and you freaked out because you immediately thought the worst.
Yep.
And then I sent you a picture, and you
Cussed you out.
how you did. But I mean, great stories. I definitely look forward to telling some more collecting stories here on this podcast. We're running a little long though. We're past the hour mark, going towards an hour 15. So I think we're going to go right to the end here. And at the end of each podcast, I want to give recommendations. Now, if anybody has listened to any gaming podcast I do on the Main Journey into Comics podcast, which may not happen anymore, gaming will still get discussed on the show, but I definitely want to shift any main gaming topic to this podcast.
Right.
But I wanted to start doing recommendations, and essentially what that is just me and now Mike will just give you a recommendation of anything modern that's coming out, is out, or completely retro, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as it's a game, as long as people can get it. Basically, what this is, you just say what it is and where you can get it, and then your opinion on it. And have you thought of one?
I have one.
And I'll let you go first.
Xenoblade Chronicles X.
There you go.
Fantastic JRPG. One of the few really good exclusives for the Wii U, in my feeling, other than Splatoon and your Marios. But it's a great game. It's really long.
Yeah.
If you know anything about Xenoblade, it is very cutscene-y. So you spend a lot of your time watching other than playing. But the gameplay is 100% from the start open world.
I did get that, and the cool thing about that is that I pre-ordered that from GameStop, one of the last games I pre-ordered from there, and I went to go pick it up, and it came out on the same week or same day as, what was that shooter? It came out, Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six, yeah.
Rainbow Six Siege, and the dude said he basically made a bet or a call. Like he called out Rainbow Six Siege. Of course, this is holiday time. A lot more people in the store than usual working. And the guy goes, let's see if he's right. And of course, it was like kind of like a drum roll. Everybody's waiting.
Yeah.
And I was Xenoblade, right? He goes, and the collector's edition. He goes, this is badass. And the guy's like, I wish I would have ordered this, you know. Of course, how ironic is that people that work at GameStop can't afford to order games through GameStop.
Right. They pretty much they know, hey, we're going to put it in the system this day.
I think I was like one of the only people to pre-order that version there.
Yeah, I wish I would have got the collector's edition. But
you know what? It's really cool. It's really cool thing.
Yours looks amazing.
And honestly, I think it was like $90, so it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, it was only $30 more.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy with it. I got the art book. I got the little lithograph and the USB dongle, which is actually pretty badass.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
My recommendation, I just picked this up not too long ago. In fact, I think it was the last time you were with me, so it's a couple weeks ago. Kirby's Dream Land 2.
Yes.
Now, I grew up on Kirby's Dream Land. I never played 2.
That's the one I started on.
Well, really, because I only had 1, and then I played Kirby Superstar on Super Nintendo. Now, because I do like the Kirby games, but in this one in particular, I want to say, and I could be completely wrong about this, but Kirby Dream Land 2 starts the absorption of powers.
Yes.
And how that kind of goes into be for the next games. But the first one didn't have that. You just ate things and spit out stars.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's great, man. It's a Kirby game. It's awesome, and it's available on the original Game Boy. And what's cool about it is I was playing it on my SP, so it added color. And it wasn't like how some of the games, like the Game Boy Color, added like a few color things here, or like how the Super Game Boy tries to add color in. This had Kirby was pink. And it was like just like you're playing a Kirby game, like in color. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So if you guys have original Game Boy Advance, Game Boy or DS, original DS Lite, where you can play. Well, actually, can you play original Game Boys on there, or is it just Game Boy Advance on the DS? I don't know.
I think you can only play it on the.
I think it's Game Boy Advance only.
And SP.
So you can play it on the original Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP. No Game Boy Micro. Those are only Game Boy Advance. Of course, if you have the Game Boy Advance player, or they also have they have their Super Nintendo Retro Advance adapter that you can play through it on there, as well as the Retron 5 or that new Retro Freak system that we have. So many places where you can play some Game Boy games. I'm really glad because the Game Boy doesn't get a whole lot of love.
No, and there's a lot of great games on it that are overlooked.
Oh, the whole Game Boy library, all the way from the original to the Game Boy Advance, is just phenomenal.
Yep.
But I think that's going to wrap us up.
All right.
I think it's going to wrap us up. I'm going to go ahead and take this home, guys. Thank you for watching/listening to this podcast. I hope you guys found it interesting, and I hope we can get this going again. I think we're going to record another episode in a few weeks. This isn't going to be every week. This is going to be probably 1 or 2 a month whenever we can. Of course, we're going to cover E3. Last year we did E3 on the main show. We're going to do it on this show. We're going to bring our buddy Wes in to also cover E3. So we're going to do that again. That's the benefit of being on day shift now.
It is.
We can do it at night. We can just go when E3's done. We can meet up on a night that week and just sit down with Wes and hammer it out. We don't have to wait till the weekend or anything like that. We can just do that.
And we can actually sit and watch.
Yes. Well, for most
Sony.
of it, yeah. Sony's, and then and also on Sunday night we can watch I think Bethesda and EA have ones in there.
Yep.
Because I'm excited for Mass Effect.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to see more. I want to see more. Stuff got leaked. Something about like a description for the game and then some promotional stuff. It's nothing really too giving away, but it's like just made me salivate.
The Nintendo is what I'm waiting for because
NX, yeah.
Because from what the rumors that have been spreading it is very third party friendly.
I hope so.
And
well, that's what they said about the Wii U.
Yeah, I know, but it's just it's one of those dreams where it becomes part of the gaming console war again. It's kind of its own deal now, but teach his own.
Thank you guys for watching/listening to Game Addicts Podcast. I'm Brando. This is Mike. We will see you later. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you never miss an episode of this podcast, Journey into Wrestling, Journey into Comics, anything like that. You can go check out Journey into Comics mobily. You can do that too if you have YouTube Red here, maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sure on YouTube Red. Basically, as long as you subscribe to our channel here, you're never going to miss an episode. So that's exactly what I'm going to suggest you do. This is your general hub for everything Journey into Comics related, including these side podcasts like this one. And with that, we will see you later. Ha ha!